Population growth and industrialization continue to apply pressure on the precious resource that is land. Further still, apportioning of the land continues to limit African countries' ability to sustain large-scale farming. So what happens to those who are interested in farming, living within the cities and only have a little piece of land? Technology is stepping in to create a new vision for farming on the vertical plane through an app. Hansel Omonde is an innovator, and he's using technology to teach Kenyans about food sustainability.
So I was more interested in security systems. So most of the robots I was designing were for security operations. But then, by then, Kenya wasn't ready for robotic solution in security systems. So I had to figure out a way of using the knowledge I had in robotics and automation to be able to come up with a solution that can impact the society positively.
If well nurtured, if there's appropriate support, finance, markets, and registration that can be able to make these kind of innovations that are using very less space to be able to go outside there and be accepted on en masse. For me, is the issue of food security in Kenya. I mean, we'll be counting a few years.
But funding remains a challenge for many innovators. Luckily, the government is coming in to cushion those in the innovation space. Still, more is needed, especially in terms of policy creation and implementation. Beryl Oro for CGTN.
Let's get you more perspective on innovation in Africa now. I'm joined in studio by economist Edward Kusewa. Edward, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
How important is innovation in Africa when we talk about the continent's growth and development?
All right, the process of industrialization and the process of investment is very important for innovation in Africa. You know, a lot of people talk about technological innovation, but that's not the really key thing. We need enabling policies around investments and around innovation that help businesses thrive. We need policies, for example, that help the financial markets attract foreign capital investment. We need private equity investments coming into Africa through innovative policies that help bring in income and employment. So a lot of things that have been said around innovation have to be triggered by the fact that governments have to sit down and rethink which policies will help innovation boost trade and trade flows in Africa.
Right, so let me pick it up from there. So then what is needed from governments and organizations to better foster innovation amongst the youth in the continent?
I think capacity, both technical capacity, managerial capacity, and skills that build technical capacity around innovation. I think in incubation hubs, acceleration programs, and especially venture capital that attracts and helps youth become innovative. So one of the problems and challenges that youth face in this part of the world is that they don't have funds that help them innovate. And so we also don't have venture capitalists who look at ideas and start funding those ideas. So we need a lot of government support in incubation and acceleration programs that help youth to innovate. Yeah.
Well, there's obviously a string of benefits, from innovation that we can enjoy here in Africa. I guess the question is, how much potential is there in this sector to change Africa's future?
I think right now the discussion is around intra-African trade, and that intra-African trade can only be boosted through innovation. So countries need to look at what is the youth dividend and what can they do. Looking at the value chains, for a very long time, Africa has really concentrated on export of raw materials, and therefore they have left those value chains around industrial exports. So there's a lot of innovation around supply chains, if you look at it very keenly. And those supply chains are areas where there's a lot of potential for businesses to grow and scale up. So I think one of the important things that African governments and African organizations need to look at is try and get organized. Remember, they are competing against multinational companies that are truly extremely organized. And those multinational companies have extensive and very developed value chain systems. So in the same way, Africa needs to look at their value chain systems and their supply chain systems and how they can fit into those supply chain and be able to innovate around value chains.
All right, thank you very much for giving us this insight. Here in studio with us was Edward Kusewa. And there you have it, more support needed for innovators on the continent, since they can literally change the destiny of millions of Africans. Back to you, Jongshe.